Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for Chit Chat Across the Pond. This is episode number 820 for August 26, 2025, and I'm your host, Allison Sheridan. This week, our guest is Adam Angst of Tidbits, Fame and Fortune. How are you today, Adam?
Tidbits, Fame, and Fortune. There was fortune? I was promised fortune? Man.
Yes, the great Tidbits empire.
Wrong. Yeah, right. And the fame is definitely in kind of an off way for a slow night. So, we'll go with that what we can, but in any event.
Well, hey, Apple came out recently with a new option for AppleCare. They're calling AppleCare One. And we're going to talk about AppleCare in general, but then kind of delve into what appear to be some significant pitfalls of AppleCare One that we kind of want to maybe warn you about if you haven't already jumped into trying to do it. So, Adam, when you think about AppleCare, like you're advising, say, your friends and family, people you like to influence, how do you describe AppleCare to them?
That's actually a sort of a good question. I'm not sure I've really thought about it, but I mean, I guess I would say basically extended warranty.
Right. At which point they go, no, I don't do extended warranties.
Precisely.
Exactly. That's how I do it.
And so because extended warranty is like, whenever you're offered an extended warranty on, your $30 coffee maker or something, I'm like, seriously? I'm never going to get this thing replaced or repaired or any, whatever. So, but yeah, so I actually really don't usually describe it. I usually just say it's AppleCare. Kind of because for that reason. And part of that is because it's evolved a bit over the years, but what we have now is called AppleCare Plus.
Are they all AppleCare Plus?
Well, there's AppleCare Plus, and then there's AppleCare Plus with theft and loss protection. Theft and loss, sorry. Is the actual name. And what I don't remember, it's an interesting question. We should ask some chatbot this. I don't remember when it switched to AppleCare Plus from AppleCare and what that difference was.
I seem to remember it might have been when they said you would pay essentially a deductible for getting the repair done, and you got 2 of them per year or per length of the term. I forget exactly what it was, but I feel like that was when the change happened.
Yeah. The can't quite type and do that at the same time. So yeah, it was kind of a AppleCare for a long time had been literally just like the extending the warranty.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're right that basically then with AppleCare Plus, Apple said, well, there's things that wouldn't be covered with the warranty, but we would insure you against them. So, it's the accidental damage protection. That's what it was. And then later on, the theft and loss, although Apple built that into the name. So
those are 2 different plans you have to choose between.
Precisely.
I wonder which ones I have.
So got AppleCare Plus and AppleCare Plus with theft and loss.
Mm-hmm.
But you can no longer choose between them.
Oh.
You used to be able to.
Maybe that's why I don't remember.
That's why you don't remember because, well, in fact, you might even still have things that are AppleCare Plus only.
Mm-hmm.
And you can only get AppleCare Plus with theft and loss for the iPhone and now the iPad and Apple Watch.
Oh, but so not like a MacBook Pro.
Mac.
Oh,
nope,
really?
Can't get it for a MacBook Pro. Nope.
Okay.
So, so it's kind of it got more complicated. As well. And some of these changes have happened only quite recently. The other thing that changed fairly recently is you used to be able to buy AppleCare for like a laptop for 2 or 3 years in one fell swoop, which was a cheap way of doing it because you got more of a discount if you bought it for 3 years at purchase time. And I did that even in June with my MacBook Pro, but it's not available anymore.
Oh my gosh. So I didn't realize that had gotten away. I've always done it as a one fell swoop. That's
you can
gone
do that
now.
for a year, but you can't do it for 2 or 3 years. Again, my understanding, I can't see any way of doing that. I didn't actually buy a new MacBook Pro to find that out, but it was true in June that I was able to get it. And I can't in any way figure out how to do that now.
So you've gone in and said, let me pretend I'm buying a new MacBook Air.
Yeah.
And when it offers you AppleCare, you can't do it for 3 years?
Yeah, precisely.
Before we get too far into this, we should just make a quick side load that I'm pretty sure in Europe, you're guaranteed 2 years of warranty on stuff like this. So AppleCare only takes you from 2 to 3 years. not from 1 to 3 years.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that.
I believe
So
that's
so
true.
yeah, so it becomes this real question of like, okay, how much do you want to spend? And also, AppleCare also used to be one of those things like you bought it and it was good for a certain amount of time and then it just ended. And then
Right.
Apple's like, well, you could just keep buying it. And then they were like, you could pay for us monthly or you could pay us annually. And so it got much more complicated. And I think some of the impetus behind AppleCare One was to just like make it simple. Unfortunately, they didn't really quite succeed in that in certain ways, but
Before
that
you go
was, I
into
think,
this
the
the
impetus.
simplicity, I've just verified what you said. If you go to buy a MacBook Air right now,
Mhm.
for AppleCare Plus, you have the option of buying monthly coverage until canceled or annual coverage until canceled, and that's it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So no more 3-year plan.
But then again, that's kinda nice because it used to stop at 3 years,
Yeah,
and it would
but
be
that's
better to be
because
able
in
to
part
continue.
well, no, yeah, maybe, maybe not.
I mean,
I
to
mean,
have the
that's the
option.
whole thing. Well, they allowed you to continue they allowed you to re-up at some point. Again, this is thinking back, a couple of years, but they did change it so that you could keep paying.
Right. Originally, it was 3
And
years and you're done. Then it was 3
3 years and
years
you're
and
totally done.
you could go b I think you had to
Right.
go into a month to month or something like that, but it sounds like
Well,
it's
yeah, yeah,
year you
precisely.
could do.
But 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 I mean, that's one of those such questions of like, well, do you insure the 3-year-old machine?
Mhm. Right, but you had I like
Because
having the option.
yeah. So
All
so
right.
any event, yeah. So now your choices are just until you cancel,
I would
monthly or annual.
I'll tell you why they did it. When I gave my, iPhone 14 to my daughter, she was about to be giving it back to me, but she had cracked the screen, and I said, "You know what? You're coming right up on the 3 years. I want you to just enable the month to month on that until you get it fixed, so that it keeps going, don't let it lapse because 'cause you're about to lapse, so make sure you do that before it lapses." And she did, and then like a month ago, I got an email from Apple saying, "Okay, we just processed your month to month on the iPhone 14," which I've now had in a drawer for 2 years. I think that's the first time they've ever reminded me that I've been paying that all the time, and I had no idea. And it's just like, oh man, that's why they do it. That's why they do that month to month until canceled.
Well, and and let's face it, we were mocking extended warranties to start, and the fact is that all of these kinds of things, companies do them because they make money.
Mhm.
Apple's not doing this out of the goodness of their heart because it makes life so much easier for us users. They're doing it to make money. And and so that's really where a lot of this stuff comes in that, like, should you even be bothering to buy AppleCare for an iPhone 14 that has been in a drawer for 2 years? No, of course not.
Right.
Right? That's just silly.
Right.
But Apple wants to make that all the more possible all the time, and so that's a little bit where AppleCare One comes from, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
well, you
but
could insure that shelf of old devices.
to be fair, yeah, that is exactly what it is insurance. I pay a lot for my homeowner's insurance for theft and I pay higher rates because I wanna make sure my jewelry's insured and things like that. I don't have to do that, but I choose to, and I know that they're making money, but the loss could be huge compared to what it is you're
Right.
paying, and so you make that trade-off. And
Precisely, and that's
nobody's wrong
always sort
in
of the
what they
question.
pick. Nobody's wrong. If you pick
Nope,
not to do it, you're not wrong. If I pick to do it, I'm not wrong.
and that's always the question is sort of like, how much can you afford to replace? And
Yeah.
how much are you willing to pay for not having to pay to replace something that's broken or damaged or whatever?
Yeah, Dave
And
Hamilton calls it
so
self-insuring. And he'll
yeah,
he'll maybe keep one spare iPhone back so that everybody if somebody's phone gets broken or lost or damaged, they have a phone.
yeah, I mean, I've used the term as well, and when I've been writing about it, although I was sort of reflecting that, I mean, self-insuring, you would actually want to be paying yourself in some weird little way, like,
Putting
"I'm gonna
money into
set
a
this
little
money
account.
aside, right, just in case I break my iPhone, then, "Oh, look, I've, I'm
Actually,
good now," you
now
know?
that would be a smart thing to do to say, "Okay, I'm gonna buy this MacBook Air and it's $70 a year for AppleCare. I'm gonna put $70 a year into a little bank account, and I'm gonna do it for my iPhone, and I'm gonna do it for my, whatever, and then if any one of them breaks, I've got that pot of money to go from."
I mean, it's one of those funny things because it's funny how we think of it that way. I mean, of course, money's just fungible, right? Like you have it in your bank account. Like whether you can afford this or not.
Right.
You might not want to afford it, but you probably know.
Yeah.
Um, and so, but nonetheless, I mean, I think that's where all the decisions come from is what feels like a reasonable cost for how much it's going to save you in terms of time and headache and waiting and all of that.
Mhm.
So, when I'm asked about, well, should I get AppleCare iPhone? Yes. Like, wow, is that easy to drop? So easy to drop, particularly if
Also,
you don't have a
if you
case.
don't have a case, there you go.
I mean, like I see people without phones and without cases, and half the time that they've got significant dings or broken screens or whatever. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm really careful, and I still drop my iPhone
Right.
3-5 times a year.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It
Yeah,
does happen.
and
We
so
we had, bought
I just don't want a deal.
3 new iPhones one year. It was my daughter and my son and myself all bought new iPhones at the same time, and within 48 hours, all 3 of us had dropped them, and I hadn't bought AppleCare. All 3 of us broke them, and I walked in and I told the story, and I said, "I meant to, didn't, sorry," and they said, "All right, we'll put you AppleCare on it now as long as you, do this repair," and so we learned our lesson that day. All right.
That's good customer service.
Yeah. They don't do that
Why, it
anymore.
looks like you did buy AppleCare. How good of you.
Exactly. All right. So now I'm glad we did this history of AppleCare because it is important to understand all these different ways it has changed over
Yeah.
time. And I always wondered, was there one I was supposed to be buying with theft and loss? But now I know it's all in AppleCare Plus. And no, I can only do annually on these things. That's good to know. But now explain to us what AppleCare One is supposed to be, and then we'll get into what it turns out actually happens.
Well, so AppleCare One is meant to be simple. It's like 19.99 a month, and you'll cover 3 devices.
Mhm.
So if you have, your iPhone, your iPad, and your Mac, your MacBook Pro, boom, 19.99 a month, you're probably making out pretty well. Because those 3 devices, if you insure them individually, will almost certainly be more than 19.99 a month.
Right.
Um, and you can also add additional devices for $5.99 a month. So you can go to 4 or 5 or whatever.
So adding a second
And
Mac would be only $5.99 more.
precisely.
Okay.
And those devices, these extra devices, can be up to 4 years old. So, if you have one that, oh yeah, you got the 2 years and it lapsed and you didn't re-up and whatnot, you can bring that one back into the fold
Do
and
they
insure
test
it
you to
again.
whether it's still functioning?
It's a little unclear. They sort of say that they may require a diagnostic check.
Okay.
Not clear how they do that. I haven't heard from anyone who's had one done yet.
Okay.
So, so on the face of it, that's a really good thing, right? Like like, yes, if I'm paying these 3 or 4 AppleCare Plus individual bills, consolidating them into one 19.99 or 5.99, whatever, 26.98, whatever that works out to, payment could be a fairly significant savings and also just a little bit less to deal with, right? I mean, one of the annoying things about all these monthly things is you have to like account for them monthly. They come in on a credit card, or you have to balance their statement here or there. So that might be a little simpler too. So that's
And
the idea.
let's say
And,
you've got
it follows through with that.
a Vision Pro, $25 a month by itself. So could be really a good deal if you've got one of those.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so now that's really sort of the theory. In execution, we've been hearing John Syracuse is probably the most vocal person out there explaining exactly what's gone wrong for him. But I've also heard anecdotally in some user groups about fairly similar problems. Let me start with the middle of the problem, which is when you're signing up, it'll offer to let you put devices onto your AppleCare One plan that you're not eligible to put on your AppleCare One plan. So a woman that I know was offered, hey, you can put this Apple Vision Pro onto your plan. And she went, oh, that's awesome. That's going to save me a fortune. It's my husband's. That's great. And then it kicked him off. And once you get out of the plan you were already in, you can't go back into that plan for that same rate. So all of a sudden, it was a
Or you
massive
may not be able to.
Yeah,
You may not be able
she
to.
was
Yeah,
unable
yeah.
to. It was over $200
Yeah.
a year more she was gonna be paying for AppleCare
Oof.
afterwards.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know that she did the math right, so let's call it like 150, but it was an extraordinary
Yeah.
amount of money she lost.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I it's unclear to me exactly how it identifies which devices it thinks you can add, but I think it's doing it, my guess is doing it by, like, stuff that you purchased. But just because, I mean, like, I purchase all of the Apple hardware for me and for Tanya, but, just because that way it keeps it all in one account, and so sometimes we feel like that's useful,
Yeah.
from Apple's perspective, but, of course, once I give it to her, it's her device, not my device, and so that seems to be the other big one that John Siracusa ran into.
Right, right. So the problem
Oh,
he's
wait, no, sorry, his was still the same device, I'm sorry, he was hitting, multiple accounts. But so yes, what people are hitting is that if it's not your device logged into your Apple account, then you start getting dinged. Apple starts sending you this email like every day, multiple times a day, sometimes saying, we're going to kick you off. We're going to kick you off.
Well, and it gives you
And
24 hours to comply
yeah,
if you don't well, it's
you
so
will comply. Resistance is futile.
so if it's really not your device, it seems to kick you off. It just kicks it out, I think.
Okay.
But
Okay.
then
Is that what it does? Yeah.
the weird problem that John's running into, so John Siracusa, his wife has Mac Studio, and Mac Studio, right? That's what it's called? I get confused by the monitor name. Yeah, the Mac Studio, and he bought it on his Apple ID, and he has a login on that machine. She happens to be the primary user of that machine, but he has an account, and he is always logged in. And he keeps getting this threatening email from Apple telling him, if you don't comply in 24 hours and prove that go log in, then you're gonna lose this coverage.
Yeah. 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 It's the, and other people, it's not 100%, but a number of other people have kind of chimed in with similar kinds of things, basically noting that if you have multiple accounts on your Mac that log into different Apple accounts, I got to trying to retrain my brain, that will confuse AppleCare One, and you know and actually he also suggested that could happen with an Apple TV because you have multiple Apple accounts on an Apple TV.
You can?
You can.
I didn't
So
know.
that way you're different users, from Apple's perspective.
I don't think I
No
knew
one does
that.
this, but
Huh.
you can do it. There's really no point,
Okay.
but
Okay, you could. Okay.
but yeah, I mean, just think about it. If you're two completely separate people and you have completely separate Apple
Taste and
accounts, you
interest,
don't
yeah.
want Apple TV to be doing the same things for each person.
Okay.
Um, that I mean, in some ways is neither here nor there, just because I can't imagine that many people are doing it.
Yeah, that
But
would definitely be an
especially
edge case.
because
But
getting AppleCare for an Apple TV again is on the low end of the utility scale. So
right, but multiple users on a Mac is real common, right?
it is
I mean,
very common.
maybe you should do one of your world famous Tidbit polls to find out.
Ooh, there's a thought.
Wouldn't it be an interesting one? Do you have multiple?
Well, and like even if you're the only user, I mean, I have multiple accounts on my Mac, and they're all me.
I have
you
3.
know,
I always keep a clean account for testing if something
Yep.
goes hooey in my regular account, and then I have my Screencast Online account. So and that's definitely a separate Apple ID. So if I put my MacBook Pro onto AppleCare One, I would probably get kicked off.
Yep, yep. And then there's my parents who they share a Mac Mini, and they each have their own account,
Mhm.
and that's that's the way it's built. I mean, it's a multi-user operating system, for goodness sakes.
Right.
And they have very different things. They do very different things, and they just switch back and forth using fast user switching. That's what it's for.
Right.
And so who knows how that would work in it, but it doesn't seem like it would be very good. One of them would get AppleCare and the other one would get dinged.
Yeah, that's a good question. But how could it's baffling that they didn't think of this. But in case anybody's wondering, John went as far as he had the MacBook, or sorry, the Mac Studio needed the latest OS update. So he ran the OS update, he rebooted, which meant no other users, not his kids and not his wife, were logged into this machine. It was only him, and he got the email telling him that a new user had just logged in, and you better comply with this in 24 hours. And it was coming to the account that he was sitting on that on that machine. So now you heard this and I didn't catch it. John Syracuse, if anybody doesn't know him from Accidental Tech Podcast, is the most measured, intelligent, calm, thoughtful guy you could ever hope to meet. And he posted on Mastodon what was basically, it could be interpreted as a string of obscenities. It was hand gestures. It was just like losing his ever-loving mind on it. And apparently he eventually did call AppleCare, and I hadn't heard that he had talked to AppleCare yet, but you posted about it on Tidbits, and that's where I learned it. So what happened?
So, yeah, so he basically, again, I can only imagine these conversations. I mean, I've had these too. You're talking to some poor support person, and you know more than they do, but you need their help.
Sure.
And so there's always the tricky problem of like, you really don't tell me to restart. Just please don't tell me to restart. I've already restarted.
Log out of Apple, out of iCloud and back in. No.
Yeah, right. I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. So the AppleCare support representative said, you are not imagining this. This is a problem. They even kind of said, and speaking for myself, not for Apple, like, yeah, we're getting a lot of calls about this. So this was kind of broken, but basically all they could really come up with was cancel AppleCare One and re-enroll each individual device in what's available now.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's
And
what this other
there's your
woman got too,
problem.
right?
So for instance, because like I was looking when I wrote about AppleCare One the first time, I was kind of doing the math, and I was like, well, like I've got my MacBook Pro, but I've got that on a 3-year plan, and I've got my iPhone 16 Pro, which I think I was able to get back when you could choose between AppleCare Plus and AppleCare Plus with theft and loss, and I chose not with theft and loss. So I'm only paying $10 a month for that one.
Okay.
So you can't go back to those plans once they're canceled. And if you
'Cause they
paid
don't
for
exist.
3 years in advance, hopefully they have to refund you the money in some way, but they can't refund you the difference in a monthly cost.
Right, I think when you
so
sign up for AppleCare One, you get the refund of that, but then when you go back out and you're screwed, you're just
Right.
screwed.
You're just screwed.
Oh, you said they can't.
And so
They haven't chosen to.
right, yes. Anything is possible. You could merge Apple accounts. Really, that should be possible. So in any event, what John Syracuse basically, so I forget, he said, I think he was going to end up paying like $48 a year more
Yeah.
than he would normally, and which is kind of a lot.
Right.
And that was before, I think, and then it would have been six. It was only that little because he stopped insuring something he would have otherwise.
Oh,
It
wow.
would have been $60 a year otherwise. And so the it's one of those situations where Apple, to their credit, again, they did try to make it up to him, but they did it in a kind of half-baked way where they said, you can pick an accessory from the Apple online store that's up to $200 in cost, which is just sort of weird, right?
That's not nothing. That's
It's
better
not nothing, but it's weird. You're being charged for one thing, and they're going to give you some other thing, not just a credit. Why don't they give you a credit on your account? Like,
because they'd have to do math on what that credit should be for, and $200 is more than he's lost. I mean, that's not terrible.
For a couple years, yeah. I said it's not terrible.
Could you buy like
he wasn't even
4
able to,
watch bands?
But remember, it was up to 200.
Yeah.
And so he didn't really need anything. He ended up buying something for his wife that she thought she might want to try for 150. So, I mean, usually, like if you think about it, I had some issue with T-Mobile recently, and they charged me some unnecessary fee for whatever. I think it was like our auto withdrawal stopped working because their system didn't properly flip the 2 bank accounts when we added a new bank account. And And I called them, they're like, "Oh, we're so sorry. We've reversed that charge and, it'll come off on your next bill." Thank you. Like, that's the way you do this sort of thing. You deal with it in the account. Like,
Right.
"Hey, let me go pick something off a shelf and give it to you," is weird.
Yeah,
It's just like it's just not the same thing. I mean, yes, I get that like, they did a good job, like, in some sense of, like, not just saying, "It sucks to be
pound
you,"
sand. Yeah.
but it's still weird to be, trading atoms for bits.
Yeah, that is a very different thing. I just noticed Beats Fit Pro are $200. I would have picked that. Those are my favorite headphones. But
Well,
if you don't need
but if you already
headphones,
have one, you're like, "But I have headphones. I don't need more headphones," right? Yeah,
I want the $48.
So in any event, it was, it feels like someone pushed this through without really thinking about it at all.
Yeah, now one of the things
Um
that ATP, really excels at is assigning motive without any
mhm,
information. So they said the motive or the reason in this case, not motive in this one, but the reason is because no person working at Apple has ever had to share a computer. So they don't know that exists. I was like, I don't know. I mean, they clearly didn't program it to include this, or I think part of it too is the messaging. I mean, you should not be offered to put something onto your AppleCare One that you can't put on your AppleCare One. Full stop.
just
That's just
full stop.
really bad. I mean, I'm picturing the class action lawsuit for each person that lost $50 or $150 because of this. How much did this end up costing people? This is to me is a really bad look. So if you're looking forward today, somebody says, "Hey, I heard about this cool AppleCare One thing. It's only $20 a month. What should I do?" Or
Run,
25.
sorry.
What's that?
Run and hide. No.
So you would say, don't do it. Don't
Yeah,
even try it.
well, so, no, it's not that. It's that it basically before before we knew that it was gonna have this problem, it was still a real question. So for me, because I was only paying $9.99 a month for my iPhone and I bought my MacBook Pro's, AppleCare for 3 years, it made no sense.
Right?
Like, I wasn't, and yes, I could insure something else, but I don't consider an Apple Watch worth insuring.
Hmm.
They're not I mean, I don't have I mean,
Even though you can break
I
it
guess
so easily?
well, that's the thing is, I mean, I've had Apple Watches since they came out. I've never broken one, and I'm not particularly gentle on them. I
A
mean,
lot
my
of people
experience
get
is they're
swollen
extremely
batteries
durable.
though, and that's been covered after the first
But
year.
yeah, yeah, it can happen. But again, they're sort of they're not that expensive.
You're
That's
self-insuring.
for it. Right. What it comes down to is I'm going to insure things where I feel like, ooh, that would hurt to replace. Like,
Okay,
the
okay.
$1,100 iPhone 16 Pro. I'd really rather not spend another $1,100
That'd
if
leave
I
a
drop it
mark.
today. Right. I mean, I can afford it, but
Don't
it
wanna.
would be nice if I break the screen with a bad drop or something like that to pay $29 or whatever they charge for the screen repair instead of, having to go for a full on one. And similarly, I think that, that laptops in general, I mean, particularly like, boy, when everyone asks me about students, I was like, "Eh, buy AppleCare before you finish checking, like before you buy the actual thing, buy AppleCare first, then buy the
In
laptop.
advance,
If you,
as you're picking up
um,
your roll of bubble wrap to put it in.
right. I mean, having watched, we did that with our son when he went to Cornell he'd gotten a new MacBook, then. And I think it took him about 6 months to accidentally close it while the headphone jack was, like, sitting on the keyboard.
Oh,
Yep. Broke the screen really,
I
really
can't
quickly.
say that's a student behavior. I could easily see me doing that.
Oh, oh, no, but it was just like but that's the thing is I fully expect a student to do something like that, plus they're just schlepping it around,
Yeah, the
throwing it in
schlepping.
backpacks, all day, every day. It's gonna break. It just is.
I have
And so,
so many stories of where I've done it. I brought a new MacBook Pro, home, and I was still using, I was doing some work, so I had my work laptop up connected to my display, and I had these 2 laptops I would needed to transfer from my old laptop to the new one, and I wanted to do it while I was working, and I'd run out of desk space with 3 laptops on the desk, and I had a speakerphone and that was used, it was made for a car where you could stick it to your visor as a speakerphone, and I had no place to set it, and I set it down on the laptop directly above the hard drive. Remember how I said it stuck to it's stuck by a magnet. So I stuck a magnet on the hard drive of the brand new machine. I literally broke it before I got to use it at all. And Apple replaced it for me, but because I'm a moron. I do want to make an update to the European Union rule. What it gets you is 2-year warranty for faulty or non-conforming goods. So if you break it or it gets stolen, obviously not covered.
Or if it doesn't have USB-C.
Yes, exactly. And so, but the other thing I think people don't take into account with regular AppleCare is your ability to call Apple on the phone. And we all hate doing it, but I'm really glad they're there when you hate making phone calls.
Right, but it's unrelated. You can call Apple regardless of whether you have AppleCare. They say it, but they don't mean it. I mean, or rather, they say it, but they don't mean the converse.
You're saying you can
anyone
have them
can call
help you
Apple
with
anytime.
And they'll help you, or they'll say, hi, nice to meet you?
No, they'll help you. They'll help you. Apple support is not related to AppleCare.
My jaw is on the ground. Seriously?
Have you ever been asked for your AppleCare number when you call Apple?
No, but they ask for my serial number and they know I have AppleCare. 100%.
Yeah, there's no connection.
Now, I know it's a fool's errand to fact check Adam Angst, but I don't buy it.
Because half of the time you're not calling about a device. You're calling about some problem with macOS or HomeKit or something. There's
no macOS isn't related to the device. You've got a problem with macOS. I thought you had to have AppleCare.
No. I mean, I had I haven't called Apple in a long time for general reasons, but like the last time I called them, I was having huge problems with HomeKit. I couldn't add Tanya to our home. And I didn't have AppleCare on HomePods or anything like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Really, they don't check. They just don't. You don't. If you're calling about a software problem, they're not asking for your serial number. There's no checking. They get nothing.
I don't believe there's no checking. No, because they ask for the serial number. They're absolutely they see on their screen whether you've got AppleCare. Why do you think they don't?
It's never come up. I mean,
but you said you don't call them. So
until I got this MacBook Pro, I didn't have AppleCare for years before that on any Macs.
But did you call them?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for years I called them once every year or two.
So this sounds like an anecdotal fact.
So it's I don't exactly know how you prove it, but you could call Apple and just ask them a question about something that does not involve a serial number.
Okay, here we go.
I'm really curious why it is that sleep mode on my Apple Watch is, whatever.
So
and you don't
complimentary
have on your Apple Watch.
I found an article.
Yeah.
From Apple, support article entitled Complimentary Support. What is complimentary support? Under software, complimentary software support provides telephone support for installation, launch, or reinstallation, not including data recovery when your hardware configuration meets minimum system requirements for the software. Complimentary support, Apple 1-year limited warranty, and AppleCare benefits are separate from and in addition to rights under consumer law, blah, blah, blah. And then it says, how much complimentary support do I get? You get it for 90 days, no longer if required by applicable law, or longer if applicable law. So they may have answered your questions on, I'm having trouble with Apple Pages on my MacBook Pro. It keeps crashing, but they're not required to do that by their own rules.
Basically, I have never heard of anyone calling Apple and being told we're not going to help you. Ever.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, if you're like, we're not going to help you because you're running macOS 9, it has to be something they're actually supporting. But if you call with a real problem with a modern device or operating system or something like that, they'll talk to you. They're not gonna hang up on you. Oh, I'm sorry. Too bad on you. So,
Well, there are also differences with if you have AppleCare on a what was the problem I had with I had headphones from them call them AirPods, and I was able to have the new ones shipped to me before I shipped the old ones back because I had it under AppleCare, but
Y
I was still paying for the
yeah.
repair in that case.
Yes.
But, I
Yep.
mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it sounds like out of the goodness of their heart, they probably would help you up to a point, but according to complimentary support at apple.com, they don't need to do that.
As that I've literally never heard of anyone saying, "Apple refused to help me because I don't pay for AppleCare." People will occasionally get basically dinged by Apple because their problem is insoluble or they're a really real
That
pain in the
one's
butt.
me.
There's
That one's me.
Yeah, right. I mean, and, like, there's a guy, who I know, an online person who I think he got a Mac Pro, a Lemon Mac Pro, and he's been fighting with Apple for years. And it's like he won't let it go. I mean, at some point, like, he can't prove that anything is really he can't prove to Apple's satisfaction that enough is wrong for them to replace it or anything like that, and yeah, I think they've stopped talking to him.
Are
But,
and
it's
I
like there's
actually
a
had the same problem. I went a year and a half bothering them every couple of weeks.
that's right, you had a MacBook Pro?
Yeah, I ended up giving it to my daughter, and it doesn't misbehave for my daughter, and I got an M3 MacBook Pro, and it does not misbehave in the same way.
Yeah. So, but it's like, I think they do reserve the right to basically say, "We're not going to help you personally because you're a pain in the butt."
Yeah, they don't
But,
actually do that. They just ghost you. They just stop answering. So you can
they
start
stop
another
answering.
call and reference the first one, and you get another string of support for a couple of months, and then they ghost you. And then you start another one and another one. I have the records. I have the receipts. Well, anyway, so
I
it
mean,
doesn't sound like if you use a Mac, I probably wouldn't do AppleCare One, even if I didn't have multiple users on it at the time.
yeah,
I probably
yeah,
wouldn't do it. So then you're down
yeah,
to it's gotta be you have a phone and a watch
and an iPad
and an
and
iPad and a Vision
AirPods
Pro of
and
your own that no one has ever sneezed near.
yeah, right. I mean, put it this way, if I had a Vision Pro, which I have no intention of having in any way, shape, or form for so many reasons, I would absolutely have AppleCare on it.
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
big, weird, expensive device that you're gonna set on couches, it's gonna fall off within minutes. I mean, come on.
But
The first
AppleCare
time
One,
you
I
use
mean.
it
I'm talking about
oh,
AppleCare One.
AppleCare One. Oh, yeah, no, I would have AppleCare One on it instantly because it's cheaper.
Yeah, yeah, but that's pretty much the only one.
Yeah, right. I mean, you have to get pretty. I forgot. I looked at all the various prices at some point. When I was writing about it, and some of them are a little more expensive than you think. I mean, like a Mac. I think the Mac Pro is pretty. Oh, the Pro. I think the Pro Display XDR is silly expensive too.
Well, that's because the Pro
Um,
Display XDR is silly
right.
expensive.
Expensive. Precisely. That's just it. Is
Yeah.
that so? If you've got a really expensive Mac, AppleCare Plus is really expensive, and AppleCare One makes a ton of sense.
Oh, I
So
didn't think about that. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
right,
does
right.
does AppleCare scale with what you put into a MacBook Pro, or is a MacBook Pro always the same price? Like, if you buy it with 4 terabytes or 512, is AppleCare the same price? I thought it was
Yes, it's
always
the
the
same
same.
price.
Yeah.
It's always the same. So it's always, I'm getting to the site. Like if you buy a Mac model pricing. So yeah, a Mac Pro is $17.99 a month. That's the most expensive one.
Well, I'm
And
paying
it
half that for a
doesn't matter
phone
what you get with it.
that's 4 years
Yeah.
old. 3 years.
And the Pro Display XDR is also $17.99 a month.
Okay.
So if you have a significant workstation set up, with a Mac Pro and a Pro Display XDR, AppleCare One is going to be a
So
good deal,
I'm
but
looking at
then you got to be super careful about the accounts.
I'm looking at a MacBook Pro connected to a Pro Display XDR right now. But I'm not gonna do it because of John Siracusa. Or
Yeah.
what Apple
Yeah,
told
yeah.
John Siracusa, that doesn't work for multiple user accounts or multiple user Macs.
Yeah, could be dangerous. Could be dangerous. I mean, then there's ones like, like the AirPods. Like it just feels like, you with AppleCare One, yeah, if you've got a slot, add 'em,
Yeah.
but like it's $1.50 a month.
That's all it
So it's
is
not very
for
much money.
okay.
Yeah, for the AirPods and AirPods Pro and Beats. The AirPod Max is $3 a month. So,
Yeah.
I
But
mean, Apple scales all these things with the basic cost of the device. So it does make sense, but again, like an Apple TV or a HomePod, they sit very quietly. Like, they don't
Yeah.
go places.
Yeah.
They don't live risky lives.
But, let's bring up something else. Speaking of extended warranties people hate, Best Buy has something they call Total Tech, which Steve and I call Total Tank because it was a joke from the movie Santa Claus. But, anyway, with Total Tech, everything you buy, you get this extended warranty on it. And it has been highly effective in getting us to buy more things from, Best Buy. It started with a giant TV we bought. The cost of Total Tech for the year was less than the cost of installation of the TV, and it came with installation of the
The
TV,
free
so it was a
installation.
good deal. But once we had it, we started going, "Well, hey, I could buy this here or here. I'm gonna buy it at Best Buy because I get a warranty on it." We buy stuff for our kids on that, and, we bought an ice maker for our daughter and son-in-law, and it was a very, very expensive ice maker, and it died inside of a year, and we had the extended warranty, and it worked. So when I wanted to buy an Apple Watch for my 9-year-old grandson, I bought it through Total Tech because I knew I was gonna get that warranty, so I didn't have to pay AppleCare on it, and I'm guessing he's gonna break it. Just spitballing
Yeah.
here. And it's real AppleCare too. It's not the Best Buy extended warranty. It's actually
Really?
AppleCare through Best Buy. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That that I mean, with all of these things, there are, as you said, like the installation, you can run into those situations where, like, why, yes, that makes sense. I will sign up for that instantly, because it's going to work out for you. But yeah, I find, it is interesting because I think AppleCare is really useful to have for certain devices because it's so easy. And like, if you particularly with Best Buy, if you're getting true AppleCare, that's great. One of the other things I've always been a little dubious of is like, well, you got this extended warranty, and like when time comes to use it, will they really honor it?
yeah.
Or will there be some catch that you didn't expect or some hidden cost or whatnot? And AppleCare, again, there are costs here. Basically, you're paying AppleCare so that if you damage things or lose them, the fees will be lower, much, much, much lower. But if you break a screen, you're still paying Apple. I forget what the numbers are. $29 a month, $29 to replace the screen.
Casey Liss calls himself Caseless Casey Liss on the Accidental Tech podcast. And he recently broke his screen, and he did the express replacement where you get a replacement and then you stick it in the box and send it back. And they charged him more than if he had just sent it in and gotten the new one back. And I don't know
So
that it was a
Express adds
lot
another
more, like
fee.
maybe $40 or something like that, maybe 60, but it was significantly
Interesting.
more. Um,
I'm looking at the service fees page, and it doesn't say anything about that.
yeah, do you see
Um,
express replacement in there?
no, it's not listed in that. But it does, it's $29 for screen or back glass damage, $99 for other accidental damage, and $149 for theft or loss for an iPhone.
Oh, so you still do pay
So
$149, but if it's an
so yeah,
$1,100 phone, that's a real good deal.
precisely.
You bring
Yeah.
up a
So
good thing on looking at the fine print on how, companies do these, other kinds of warranties. I remember a friend of my daughter's had the Verizon warranty on her iPhone, and when her phone got broken, she was told she would get a like device. Like, it might not even be an iPhone.
yeah, iPhone, right?
It
It's
was
a
like,
phone.
"Wait, what?" Yeah, it was gonna be a phone similar, but it wasn't like her phone getting repaired or a direct swap. So, yeah, that was years and years ago. I don't know that that's still true or if they even offer that, but it's a illustration of, I think, what
Yeah.
Adam was trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah. No, all these things, they're really, it's actually kind of an interesting exercise to go through when you're thinking about this, because it tells you so much about yourself in terms of like what your risk aversion is, and like, what are those numbers where you're just like, ooh, that's too much. Like, for me, $1,100, that feels too much. Whereas, an Apple TV at $149, whatever, like, I could replace that in a heartbeat. If I don't know, a meteorite fell on it or something. So like, I don't know what could possibly hurt my Apple TV. I'm not even sure I can see my Apple TV. It's like it's behind the TV itself.
Now, we do unplug
So
ours and take them on trips, so maybe ours live a riskier life,
oh,
but,
yeah, yours
one
get to see the world.
one thing I haven't, said is how much the Best Buy, and they don't call it Total Tech anymore anyway, but we still call it Total Tech, is $180 per year. I've got a 75-inch TV on it, the Apple Watch, our Sony receiver, the ice maker is still on there, some Western Digital, drives. I've got our Eero network on there, my very expensive color laser printer, and let's see, a subwoofer, and, our DJI Mic 2 and DJI Osmo Pocket 3. So we've got 10 very expensive devices on that for $179 a year. Now,
And you could buy all your Macs for there too.
yeah, the problem is I always want them on day one, and I don't know, Best Buy gets stuff on day one, or the iPhone, I want it right away.
Right,
Can't be getting it
right.
the day after, Adam. Jeez. Come on.
Yeah, been there, done that. That first Friday delivery when the UPS guy shows up.
Oh, chasing him down the street because you were in the shower at the time. Yeah, there you go. Well, this has been a good discussion, and I learned a lot more about what the current state of AppleCare is. I thought I understood it, but you've, as always, educated me, and I'm sure educated the audience. If people want to keep up with all of your wonderful wisdom, how would they possibly do that, Adam?
There's this thing called the internet. It's really great. I have to say,
You
I
think
am
it's gonna
so
be
in
something?
favor of the internet. I think it's going to catch on. So once you log onto the internet, you can go to a website. These are the coolest things. These websites called Tidbits.com. It's a funny name, I know, but they've all got funny names because we don't have to remember the numbers anymore.
Oh, that's so cool. It's so cool. It's come such a long way from those numbers. All right, Adam. Thanks again, as always.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Chit Chat Across the Pond. Did you notice there weren't any ads in the show? That's because this show is not ad-supported. It's supported by you. If you learned something, or maybe you were just entertained, consider contributing to the Podfeed podcast. You can do that by going over to podfeed.com and look for the big red button that says Support the Show. When you click that button, you're going to find different ways to contribute. You can donate one time through the big Donate button with a credit card or Apple Pay, or you can use PayPal. If you want to make a recurring contribution, click the Patreon button. Keep in mind, I don't charge Patreon for Chit Chat Across the Pond or Programming by Stealth episodes, just once a month for the NosillaCast. That keeps it simple. If you want to contact me for any reason, you can email me at allison@podfeed.com, and you can follow me on Mastodon at podfeed.com/mastodon. Maybe you want to talk to other Nosilla castaways? You can do that in our Slack group at podfeed.com/Slack. Thanks for listening, and stay subscribed.